Up in New York, Democrats have nominated a communist to be the mayor of their city, Zoran Mamdani. And honestly, his communism is only part of the problem. He hates the state of Israel, too. He also was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but he acts like he doesn't even know how to use a spoon. He eats rice with his fingers, which is just gross. But he just got a huge endorsement yesterday from Elizabeth Warren. Democrats have been somewhat on the fence as to whether they're going to endorse this guy or not, but Elizabeth Warren is all in. She thinks that Mamdani's brand of communism is actually the future of the Democratic Party, and we agree. The trouble with Elizabeth Warren is she tried to take that message to CNBC, and it did not end well for her. Not at all. We'll show you that in a second, but first, let's see Grandma Warren given the full-throated endorsement to Kami Mamdani. As the New York Post put it, African-American meets Native American, and it was a beautiful sight for all you socialists out there.
Senator, is this what the future of the party, you hope, progressive, social, is this what the party should look like?
Yes.
Democratic Party moving
You bet.
Senator, is this
I love it. You bet. Absolutely, this is what the party should look for. Listen, I'm glad they're out of the closet. I'm sure they're going to feel a lot freer now to really be themselves. My understanding is that when one comes out of the closet, as a socialist, of course, that suddenly you don't feel this burden to live a lie anymore. You don't feel a burden to constantly put up this false front and pretend to the world. No, embrace it. Embrace it, Liz Warren. You're all communists. It's great. It's beautiful. Here's the New York Post headline that I was talking about. It's perfect. It's absolutely exquisite. So yeah, here she is being a full-on socialist, full-on state-controlled grocery store, state-controlled real estate, defund the police, send social workers out when there's a big shooting, screw the state of Israel, prop up Hamas, globalize the Intifada, all the things that Zoran Mamdani stands for. This is what the Democrats should look like, she says. So then she goes on CNBC and tells, everybody watching, the people who happen to love free markets, capitalism, if you'd like to call it that, she tries to sell it there. They weren't buying.
You mentioned Mamdani, and you are in New York, sort of speaking in behalf of him to a certain extent. I wonder, though, often we see this, and this is a local election. New York does not operate in a vacuum. It competes with other cities. And so this idea of somehow raising taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers, who, by the way, I would point out, pay roughly 15% of their income right now between city and state, raising taxes on them will simply drive them away. Shouldn't the focus of a mayor be on delivering services to the constituents of the city and doing that by raising the most revenue as possible without chasing businesses and the high income taxpayers out of the city? Because they can go to Austin, they can go to Dallas, they can go to Atlanta, they can go to Nashville. This is your issue. It's a national issue, not a local issue.
The issue is affordability. Do you know how many working families are chased out of New York City every day because they can't afford housing, they can't afford groceries, they can't afford childcare? What Zoran is saying is, I want people to be able to afford to live in New York City. That's what keeps it a vibrant city. That's what makes people want to live
Nobody
here.
disagrees with that, Senator, but raising taxes in order to do it? Why is that the answer?
Oh, dear. Are you worried that billionaires are going to go hungry?
No, I'm worried that they're going to leave and spend their money elsewhere.
They've threatened to do that over and over and over.
And they have. They've left.
But here's the thing.
And Goldman Sachs, when they create new jobs, they do it in Dallas. And Blackstone won't build a new headquarters. And go on and on.
You want to have a workable city? You want to have a city that's vibrant? You want to have a city where the streets are full, where there are things for sale 24 hours a day? Then you need people who can live here and work here.
Well, we've got that right now, by the way. I would point out New York is thriving. So now it's doing pretty well, actually.
I'm glad you think they're doing well, because a lot of people are struggling to pay for housing. A lot of people are struggling to pay for groceries. And I got to tell you, mamas and daddies who are facing $25,000 a year to pay for childcare.
Those are national issues. I mean, I know they are the local state, but you can't.
New York City.
Yes, but if you deal with them in that way, by what is always your backup just tax them more, they will leave.
He's right. And she didn't really have much of an argument, except for this. It was quite an argument that she made when he said, what, you're just going to keep raising taxes on people? Well, that's not going to solve the problems. It never does. Did you hear her response?
Are you worried that billionaires are going to go hungry?
No, I'm worried that they're going to leave.
Let me start from the first part of it. I need you to hear the beginning of it.
To be able to afford to live in New York City. That's what keeps it a vibrant city. That's what makes people want to live
Nobody
here.
disagrees with that, Senator, but raising taxes in order to do it?
Oh,
Why
my
is that
goodness.
the answer?
Oh, dear. Are you worried that billionaires are going to go hungry?
Did you hear that? Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. Oh, dear. She literally did the meme. She did this guy. Oh, no. Work. This is who they are now. Again, I'm glad they're not hiding it. Come on out of the closet. Burst out. Do your RuPaul runway walk, baby. Let's go. I would think it's probably easier to come out as a Democrat as, you know, trans or drag queen or gay or whatever than it is to actually honestly look in the mirror and look at your family, look at your voters and say, yeah, I'm a socialist. But it's got to happen sooner or later. And if anything, Mamdani and this androgynous individual is helping them get there. It's who they are. And by the way, it's not exclusive to New York City. Look at this stunning video. Nebraska Congressman Mike Flood having a town hall. And, you know, the issue of the reforms to Medicare just came up. You know, how Republicans have decided that they're going to bring back Medicare to where it was supposed to be. Excuse me, Medicaid. To where it was supposed to be, where only the women and children who are disabled or unable to work get their health care covered for them. But if you're an able-bodied young adult male who has every opportunity to get a job and work, you shouldn't be getting free health care and benefits from the government. You know, the way the program was designed and the way it's supposed to be. He brought that issue to his town hall, but it was infiltrated by a bunch of radical left-wing activists. And listen to what happened in Nebraska.
Talks about two big changes to the Medicaid program. One of those changes is that if you are able to work and you are able-bodied, you have to work. If you choose not to work, you do not get free health care. You do not get free health care. Okay. So here's a question. Do you think that people who are 28 years old that can work and refuse to work should get free health care? I don't think that a majority of Nebraskans agree with you.
Yeah, they don't, nor do the majority of Americans. But it can't be denied that the socialist agenda with certain quarters in this country is working. It's winning. They really do believe that. Wasn't that stunning to see? If you're completely capable of working and you choose not to work, you don't get free health care. Boo! We hate work. We hate responsibility. My only problem with the good congressman, who is obviously under fire there, and I think he handled himself very well, but he shouldn't have posed the question the way he did. You see, it's very important the words we use when we make these arguments. Maybe you caught it.
So here's a question. Do you think that people who are 28 years old that can work and refuse to work should get free health care?
See, here's the thing with that question. Everybody loves free stuff, right? Hey, you want free tickets to the ball game? Hell yeah, I'll take free tickets to the ball game. Hey, you want a free ride to work today? Even better, how about a free car? How about a free vacation? Sure, free stuff is great. Free healthcare, you betcha. See, but the funny thing is, all of those things, they actually cost something. And if you're getting it for free, oh, somebody's paying for it. You could make an argument about a free ticket to the ball game. I mean, if the seat was going to go empty anyway, like if it was the Washington Nationals, sure. I guess no one's really paying for it. It was going to sit empty. So what? But somebody paid for that car that you're getting for free, right? And certainly somebody pays for your health care. There's no such thing as free health care. Doctor ain't working for free. The meds aren't free. The hospital ain't free. There's a whole lot of cost involved. You see, it's not free health care, Congressman, if I may. The better way to ask the question is, if somebody's 28 years old and they're perfectly able to work, but they choose not to work, why is it moral, ethical, or for that matter, constitutional to force another American to pay for their health care? Another 28-year-old who happens to live right next door to the freeloader. Why should that person who has a job have to pay for his neighbor's health care, who could easily go to work but chooses not to? You see the distinction there. It's not free. You're making me pay for it. You're making everyone else in the country pay for it. What's the moral argument to support that? I bet some of the people in the crowd will still cheer and still say, yes, that's what we want. But it may make them think a second time. Meanwhile, the contrast is stark when you see that going on in our country, in New York, and Elizabeth Warren and the socialists. And then you see Donald Trump also on CNBC talking about what's really going on in this country with this economy for people who are working.
But if you look at the jobs report last week, it did show a 1.7 million drop off of foreign-born workers from March to July. And
That's a great number, by the way. That's a great number because it means we're putting Americans to work.
But if you look at the jobs report last week,
she tried to get him with that. Hey, this is bad. 1.7 million foreign workers. And Trump's like, yeah, because Americans are working instead. Bad news for the socialists, actually. And speaking of socialists, actually speaking of communists, Donald Trump also told a story on CNBC, a perfectly appropriate communist story, something that he had to suffer through, a perfect example of what happens when the communists take over, personified by Elizabeth Warren, who has now said that these tactics, these ideas, these policies is what the Democrat Party should look like now. We'll take a listen to what happens when the government puts pressure on the private sector, when they have control, when they have power. They say they want to get into office and then take control of your grocery stores and your real estate and your housing and your education and all the other things because they're going to make it more affordable. But you have to hand power over to them for them to do all those great things. And then what happens when they have that power? Well, Donald Trump was the victim of a very close facsimile of what happens. Take a listen to this story.
They did discriminate. I had J.P. Morgan Chase. I had hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. I could see if they want to, if they want to do something bad because you don't have any money and you're defaulted and they took people out. But I'll give you me as an example. I had hundreds of millions. I had many, many accounts loaded up with cash. I was loaded up with cash. And they told me, I'm sorry, sir, we can't have you. You have 20 days to get out. I said, you got to be kidding. I've been with you for 35, 40 years. They said, and I mean, I had all this. I didn't know what to do with it. And I went to, and you could ask him, maybe he's not going to admit it. So I said, I was informed by my people that we have to get out of Chase Manhattan. That's Jamie and J.P. Morgan Chase. So I said, I can't believe it. Well, I was never in this situation before. I've never had anything like it. And it's not like, gee, you defaulted on a loan. I can understand that. That's different. But there's no default. I mean, there's nothing but cash. I have a really great company. And then what happens is I call up Bank of America routinely because when I was president, this was after I got out, by the way, I call up Bank of America routinely. And I speak to him and I speak to a couple of people and they have zero interest. Brian was kissing my ass when I was president. And when I called him after I was president to deposit $1 billion plus and a lot of other things. More importantly, to open accounts, which banks always like. They like accounts because they get interest free. You know, the overnights and things, a lot of reasons for it, but they like accounts. I had hundreds of accounts. And he said, we can't do it. No, we can't do it. So I went to another one. I ended up going to small banks all over the place. I mean, I was putting 10 million here, 10 million there, did 5 million, 10 million, 12 million. I have them all over the place, the craziest thing. And it's lucky I even had them. They were doing me a favor. And that's because the banks discriminated against me.
That's right. President Donald Trump, multi-millionaire and former president of the United States, was debanked. JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, would not take his business because they didn't want to piss off Joe Biden and the Democrats who were in charge after his presidency. That's what they do. That's what happened when these corrupt leftists take over the controls of your government and of your economy. You want to know what our socialist utopia will look like when Elizabeth Warren and Zoran Mamdani and Bernie Sanders and AOC and all the other Democrats who are now embracing this ideology and coming out of the closet to express that's exactly who they are and how they're best represented? You want to know what happens to our country when that happens? That's what happens. You can be the most popular, powerful, wealthiest man, but if you get on the wrong side of them politically, they will erase you. It happened to Donald Trump. Let that be a lesson. Please let that be a lesson. And finally, not for nothing, it's not really related to any of this, but since we're talking about President Trump, after his interview on CNBC a little later this morning, he decided to take a walk on the White House grounds. Well, actually, that's not completely accurate. He decided to take a walk on the White House. No, I mean literally on top of the White House, like on the roof of the White House. This is the strangest thing, but I just thought you'd appreciate it. Let's watch.
Mr. President, what are you doing up there?
Come down and talk to us.
What are you building?
Are you considering more renovations, sir?
Are you going to build up
Aye,
there?
sir. What do you?
Can you give us an update? Are you considering a second story?
Are you going to add another level?
I hope you all appreciate what a remarkable time this is we're living in. And I hope you are taking note of our daily experience in this, the golden age. And you can tell your kids and your grandkids about it when they ask you years from now. By the way, subscribing to our daily podcast is a great way to stay on top of it. Every day we sort of chronicle the extraordinary things that is happening, and you can always go back a year later and take a look at what we were talking about. I did that the other day. It's pretty fun to see how the show has evolved as well. But there was the president walking on the rooftop and then stopping and doing an impromptu press conference and answering questions of the press and telling Peter Doocy that he looks good from what would be, I guess, the third floor of the White House. I don't think that's what he was planning, although he did look like he was wanting to build something dome-like, which would have been over the press room. I think that was on the, well, it was on the West Wing, but beyond the West Wing, it was actually over the Roosevelt Room and where the press assembles. But he says that he was over looking at the other side where the ballroom is coming in, and I guess he wanted to check something on the roof because, well, why not? Amazing times, incredible future that we have in front of us if we can keep the communists out.